Thank you to our sponsors so that this event can be possible. Welcome to this session where I shall guide you into the difference between direct routing and versus Callingplan. My name is Stenberg and I work for a Norwegian company named Blink. I've been working for Blink for almost 4.5 years, but I've also been working in the tech industry for the last 25 years. Been on both sides of the table, both working for the IT department and as a consultant. And for the last 14 years, I have worked as a consultant for hire for different companies in different sectors and so on. I also run the podcast, Teams Castaway, which is a Norwegian spoken podcast at the present time. And I've been working lots of hours the last years with Microsoft Teams, direct routing, and the calling functionality in Microsoft Teams. I'm also a Teams certified and has also done all the assessments for Microsoft Teams as well. So the technical calling assessments and also the meeting rooms assessment. As I mentioned, I've been in this industry for 25 years. Last 20 years, I worked with telephony, and last 10, 11 years, I have been working with the Microsoft products from OCS to 2007 to Skype Server 2019. So all the application, and I approximately moved 25,000 people from Skype for Business to Teams. And not everyone with telephony, but been there quite a lot. The agenda for today that we will try to follow is direct routing versus Callingplan. This is very important for lots of people. Why use direct routing and how to plan for it? It's important. Why use Callingplan and how and when, and also plan for that to happen. Then, of course, we will talk about where to place your session border controller if you are going the direct routing path, and what are the certified Teams direct routing session border controllers, and where should you place it? What about your certified equipment? Does your user has certified equipment for Microsoft Teams? And then, of course, the migrate from example Skype or Link to Microsoft Teams. So these are the subjects that we're gonna hop into for today. The first thing we're going to do is to figure out what is an SBC. As you will see during the presentation, we will return to the term SBC. What is an SBC? An SBC is a session border controller. That's what it stands for. It's a device regularly deployed into your VoIP network to exert control of the signaling and usually also the media stream involved, setting it up and conducting and tearing down telephone calls and other interactive communication media. A session border controller can also act as a SIP registrar for your old SIP phones. A session border controller can terminate ISDN and SIP interfaces to Microsoft Teams, and it also can be the connection between your legacy PBX, connect that to your SBC, and then you will get all the functionality of direct routing. More about that later. But with an SBC, you also need to figure out where you want to place it. You can either place it in your data center as an appliance. You can place it in your data center as a VMware or a hypervisor unit, or you can also add it in the cloud. Cloud is very interesting when it comes to these session border controllers, because, for example, in Azure, you can just go to Marketplace, and there you find your session border controller, and you can start experience and try out for your communication. But when it comes to session border controllers, you need to have the understanding how it works. Talk to your local dealer so that you get the right session border controller with the right current license and so on. There are lots of things to think about. But these are the certified session border controllers that are available in both as a physical appliances, and some of them are also available in the marketplace. I have mainly worked with AudioCodes and Ribbon. Ribbon has changed name a few times. It was first there was Net, so there was Sonus Net, and then Sonus Ribbon, and finally Ribbon. In my daily working, I work with AudioCodes at the present time. But Oracle is here as well, and so is Aninode, and of course Cisco with their Cisco Cube. They have also been certified as a certified partner for direct routing in Microsoft Teams. One thing is that many of these can you buy directly from the cloud. For example, in Azure Marketplace, in AWS, and so on. But if the session border isn't available there and you have it as a VM, you can also try to export it, talk to the producer to see if that is possible to do. Of course, you need to be in a certain version, but that's very good explained in the pages from Microsoft. So when you have figured out this session border stuff, well, now it's time to do the thing to check what's hot and what's not regarding to direct routing and Callingplan. So let's start with direct routing. With direct routing, as mentioned, you need a session border controller. You need an SBC. You can't take your zip trunk and terminate it directly into Office 365. You can and need to talk to your telco to get all this information. When you, for example, own your session border controller, you can change your telco when the contract goes out, and from there you just need to reconfigure your local session border controller, or if it's your own session border controller into the cloud. But there are lots of other parameters. There are partners who can deliver session border controller as a service, where you just bring your own telco into that huge session border controller, and then you pay a partner to keep it alive, keep it running, keep it updated. If the telco do changes in their zip parameters, that's your partner that fix all that kind of stuff. And all you need to worry about, or less worry about, is the onboarding your own users. Another thing here is that all these users need some kind of licenses. If you are on Microsoft 365 Enterprise E1 or E3, they need to buy an add-on named Phone System. If your users are on M365 Enterprise E5, Phone System is in the loop and included. So what about Callingplan? First of all, you need port your phone numbers to Microsoft. If you don't have phone numbers from your legacy system or didn't have any legacy system, well, then just order your phone numbers from Microsoft. Microsoft will provide them. Microsoft will be your telco for SIP and Teams telephony. The bad thing here is that this isn't available in every country. I will get back to you a little later in the presentation with the number of countries and where they are located, and also the prices for Callingplan versus direct routing. And of course, you need a license in order. You need to have the phone system license for M365 E1 and E3. With E5, it's included. And you need also to find a way if you want to buy domestic calling plan or domestic and international calling plan for your users. What does your users need? That's very important as well. So let's look into direct routing and all the cost and the requirements. If you are on, as I mentioned, M365 Enterprise E1 or E3 license with your phones, you buy this phone system add-on. If you want meeting experience as well, then you can also add the audio conferencing. If you are running Microsoft E5, phone system is included. That's also the audio conferencing. But if you are running Microsoft M365 Business, Premium, Standard, or Basic, you need to buy this add-on M365 Voice, Business Voice without calling plan. This license costs approximately $12 per user per month. The phone system license that you have on the enterprise license agreement cost $8 per month. But in this Business Voice without calling plan, you have audio conferencing and phone system. You need a session border controller, as I mentioned. And of course, you need some knowledge if you want to use your own session border controller instead of buying it from a telco, or get it delivered as a service from some Microsoft license provider. When it comes to calling plan, there are, of course, other cost issues as well. For the first, calling plan isn't in every country. The last countries out was Sweden and Denmark and some other countries as well. But be aware, in the Office 365 tenant, in the admin center, the user location needs to be correct. So if you are located in Norway, has a branch office in Sweden and Denmark and Germany, check the location for users. Then you need a local license partner in the country where direct routing and the calling plan is available. For the calling plan, you need to buy the phone system and the calling plan license in that country where you want to use it. So you need several license CSP license partners get this running, because a local CSP cannot sell licenses that isn't available in their country to another country. That must be a local license agreement. Your phone numbers, if you have them, must be ported or transferred to Microsoft. The phone system license is costing approximately $8 per user per month. Then you need the calling plan domestic license, which costs $12 per user per month. If that must be added on to your phone system license. If you want to use abroad calling, then you must get the license named with domestic and international calling. That license costs $24 per user per month, but then you don't need a domestic license, but you need the phone system license. So a calling plan with domestic and international call and phone system license, it's $32 per user per month, which is quite expensive. Just calling. And then there are some requirements regarding cost and minutes and that kind of stuff. And be aware that Canada is, if you are in the US, Canada is calling from US to Canada. That requires the international calling plan, according to Microsoft documentation. As I mentioned, calling plan is only available in 17 countries. In Australia and Japan, you have third parties, which means that there isn't Microsoft that is delivering calling plan, as is in Austria, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, Puerto Rico, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the UK. And of course, USA. So that's approximately the list for all the users and where you can get calling plan. And calling plan is an option. But be aware of the license cost for calling plan licenses. So why should you choose direct routing and not calling plan? Direct routing can be delivered from your partner or from your telco. At the present time, you can almost get direct routing in every country, but check your telco, see what they can help you with. In the Nordic region where I work, the telcos has this session border controller as a service if you are a mobile user of them as well. Or you can get a partner installing your session border controller, or you can get also, for example, partners that has a session border controller as a service produced in the cloud. But then, of course, you need to check whether your SIP trunk provider can deliver SIP trunk via internet. The license cost for direct routing is often cheaper than calling plan. Phone system license is only $8 instead of $20 or $32 as it will be in calling plan. And you pay only a fee per user per talk channel, SIP channel. Also, one advantage is with the calling plan is that and direct routing is that they can be used together. For example, if you have a small branch office in Sweden, 4 or 5 users, it can be often cheaper to give them calling plan instead of full direct routing with renting a SIP trunk and that kind of costs running in the back of, and you get the bills from telco regarding that. That can be one solution. But for the rest of the organization, for example, if that organization is located in Norway, well, then you can have direct routing. So you can combine these two systems. And if you have placed your session border controller in the cloud, well, why not use a local SIP trunk from Sweden and connect it in? It's all in the math. You have to calculate about it and see what is the best solution for you. When it comes to end users that participates in meetings, calling, Teams calling, and so on, please give them certified end user equipment. That's very important. For the first, you need to have equipment that is designed and works with Microsoft Teams in a good way, and to secure that, they must be certified. Certified for Microsoft Teams. Check that logo when you order, for example, a headset or a speakerphone or meeting room and so on, so that you know it's tested. They pay a license fee and that kind of stuff to have this certified for Microsoft Teams. If you have small headsets like Skype headsets, they can be used and works great and great functionality, no problem. Sennheiser has lots of products. Yealink has lots of products also for the meeting rooms. AudioCoast has phones that's now getting better. Jabra and Poly. Poly is the old Plantronics and Polycom merged into one company. Have great products. Jabra has great products, but use certified products. Don't use your iPods in Skype in Teams meetings or regarding calls. Get all the noise around you if you're out walking, doing a team call while walking or sitting in a car or something. Please do not use equipment that isn't designed to work with Microsoft Teams. And of course, get your users to use them. I've seen lots of politics in Teams meetings, sitting there talking to their computer, and the sound is terrible. Please do not be one of them. Get good equipment. For example, a speakerphone or headset with wire, with Bluetooth, doesn't matter as long as it is designed for Microsoft Teams, and let your user find the equipment. For example, if you go for Jabra headsets for the whole organization, they have headsets in all kinds of way. And the same with Poly and the same with EPOS Sennheiser and Yealink as well. It started to come with lots of good quality headsets. So let the users choose in a regular price range. That will be extraordinarily good for the users, and the users will be very happy about it, because there is no one will use a solution with bad sound, but they will use the solution with good sound and good equipment. So when it comes to add-ons, since we were into the headsets and that kind of stuff, so when it comes to add-ons, switchboards, there are lots of telcos producing switchboard services that can act together with a SIP trunk, or can act together with your mobile phone, as quite normal in Norway. And then, of course, you have a switchboard that are using the Microsoft Graph API for Teams to act together with Teams. Those switchboard that has the opportunity to be built or designed together with the Graph API gets this stuff like Teams presence, the OAuth calendar valuation, the outbound PSTN calling. All this kind of functionality is there, and some of the switchboard producers can also support direct routing and calling plans together. So if you have a country with calling plan and another country with direct routing, no problem. Some of the switchboards can merge that together, and you can also get mobile presence if your telco in your country provides mobile status into the system. That's in the Nordics. something that we often do, and then that will be brilliant to merge that into the switchboard as well. And with the OAuth, you don't need to use the basic authentication that you use with the legacy calendar impersonate account earlier. That's not something we do anymore. We use OAuth, and mainly all the switchboard producer has moved to OAuth when it comes to calendar integration. And you can get CDR data, Power BI reports, and you can pick out those numbers directly either from your telco or from your Teams admin center or from your session border as a service partner. It can also provide you with these kind of reports if that's interesting. And you can also get queue status and all that stuff for the switchboard producer and contact center solutions as well. And from the Teams admin center, you can do governance of your Teams phones, of your meeting rooms device, and so on. And of course, if you have 3-pip old phones from example Polycom or that kind of stuff, you can reuse those phones regarding to a 3-pip service from Microsoft, so that you can keep your old phones in a period while waiting to see, shall we continue using desk phones, or shall everything be soft phone with the Teams client? That is quite extraordinary to do. Then, of course, from CRM systems, when you have integrated, you can with either direct routing or Callingplan, you can have click to call from your CRM system if the phone number is in the right format and that kind of stuff. Then it will recognize it as a phone number, and you can click directly and call out from your CRM system, which is quite cool. Then, of course, for your meeting rooms device, if you use the right license, the meeting room license, you can add dial in and dial out. And of course, you get Intune, and you get the phone system license, and of course audio conferencing license as well. So that will be into the meeting room license, so that if you set that up correctly as a meeting room and the mailbox and that stuff, you admin your do governance for your device in the Teams admin center. And the users can use the meeting room, dial out if that's important. You can also, in small single private meeting rooms, place up a small TV in a silent room so that people can do private calls if that's required or to be done, as long as you have a phone and give it a meeting room license or the license that they need to do that. And of course, you have certified recording solutions for financial services and for stock traders and banking and that kind of stuff that needs to do that. Finally, you have this API on place so that now you can get the certified recording for those. And with a session border controller, you can also have a SIP register service for your old SIP phones. And that is very important, because if you have 200 old SIP phones or meeting room devices that likes to use SIP as a meeting telephone, they can use the SIP register service on your session border controller if you know how to have the knowledge for how to configure it, so that they can connect directly and have a phone number, have a phone series for those types of equipment, so that everything acts together. And that's one of the brilliance thing with a session border controller. But not all your telcos can provide you with that kind of information. Then we are ready to talk about migration. My first point when planning to do a migration project from Skype on-prem to Teams, even though if you don't have telephony, is do not stay in island mode. Island mode is stupid. It's good in a short way, but in the long way, nah, don't do it. If you have Skype for Business on-premise and want to move to Teams, first install hybrid. Then migrate your users from Skype to Teams so that you can start to plan for the retirement of the Skype environment, if that's our Skype on-prem. If you are on Link 2010, sorry, you can't do the migration path. You have to do a hard cutover. You have to change some parameters in edit and so that your deployment location isn't pointing to SRE, but to your correct location, which is zipfedonlinelink.com. That's very important to do for your users. If you are on Link 2013, you can migrate via PowerShell. If you are on Link on Skype 2015 or Skype 2019, you can use your control panel to migrate, or you can also move your users via PowerShell. It's your choice to make. If you use PowerShell, be aware that there are license checking also running from your PowerShell session or from control panel. That's license checking. But in PowerShell, you can disable the license checking. So if you aren't ready with all the licenses while migrating the users, you are not sure if you want to use audio conferencing, that you want to pay that cost for all users, so you haven't enabled audio conferencing, use PowerShell and disable the license check for audio conferencing. That's one way to do it. One other way to do it is that when you start to move your users from Skype for Business on-prem, start with your IT department, because island mode is confusing, very confusing for the users, because internal chats will run in Teams, external chat will run in Skype. Calendar integration and the calendar functionality will give you the option to book both Teams meetings and Skype meetings. Telephone calls from Skype will go or to Skype will end up in Skype and not in Teams, even though your organization says that you have the license and that kind of stuff. As long as you are in island mode, sorry, that doesn't work. Then you need to move the users to Teams only. Start with the IT department, check out all the functionality, see that everything works. Migrate the IT department by using PowerShell and set them manually to Teams only mode to see that all the functionality works, that the Skype client reports, sorry, you are now been moved to Teams, your Skype client is now dead, that the meetings has been converted by the Microsoft meeting service so that your calendar has been updated from Skype meetings to Teams meetings, so that you can call in and out, testing that, test that you can chat with internal, external, create rooms, and so on. Then start migrating your users. Move them from Skype for Business directly to Teams only, change the DNS, and finally start your decom process of the Skype environment. There are lots of good guides out there, but if you want some tips or some tricks, just contact me. The contact information will come in a little bit. And when everything is smooth and everything is done, you can start shutting down the Skype servers and be released from those. During the hybrid period, and you want to migrate users or add new users, they will need to be in the Skype environment. If you create an online account, a user that's not synced with the Active Directory, you can give that user Teams only and the Teams functionality. But if it's an Active Directory users that is created on your local Active Directory, it will be synced out and so on. And therefore, you need to enable them on Skype first and then move them to Teams. After you have done the hybrid, there are just a few PowerShell commandlets run, and then the users are free to use Teams client with enterprise voice and so on. Then some PowerShell information. On the 15th of February, Microsoft turned off, or was the plan at least, turn off the PowerShell module, Skype for Business. This means import module Skype Online Connector shouldn't work anymore. I heard here the other day that it still does, but use the new one, import module Microsoft Teams. That's important. Then, when it comes to PowerShell, there are some few Lifehacks that I want to show you. When setting single users or moving users before you switch your organization to Teams only, use the grant CS Teams upgrade policy commandlet to do so. If you are planning to enterprise voice enable new users after the decom, run the set CS user identity. That works smoothly. And set enterprise voice enable, hosted voicemail, $false, for example, if you want not to use voicemail. And you can also here add, for example, the on-prem line URI. But then that requires that you have the phone system license installed. You can't do anything without having the phone system license installed. The next thing that I want to give a little lesson about is that how to figure out and find phone numbers. You have migrated your organization and you wonder, what phone numbers does I have available? This commandlet helps you figure out what numbers are in use. You can either pop it out in a text file, or you can separate it as a CSV file so that you can import it to a database and run this occasionally and update your database or whatever. Or you can also have it in an Excel spreadsheet as well. Depends on how large organization and that kind of stuff. But that's a good way to do, because if you try to add the phone number that's already in use, you will get an error message regarding that when you're trying to. And then it's quite a job to find a free phone number if you have hundreds and maybe thousands of users and you have different phone numbers and so on. So do that. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm on Twitter, of course. I'm on LinkedIn. Send me a message. Tell me when you're sending me a message or want to connect to me on LinkedIn that you have been on watching my show here at the Scottish Virtual Summit. Or you can send me an email if you have any questions or wonder about something. As I mentioned, I run this podcast called the Teams Castaway. You find it where you listen at podcasts, and it's in Norwegian at the present time, but maybe once in a while they will drop in an English episode for from time to time. You can also hit me on Teams. Just send me a message on Teams and I'll try to answer you as quickly as I can. And you can also read my blogs, which is in English, and where I write about the Teams, functionality, Lifehacks, and further on. So thank you for watching this, and please stay safe.